All right, let's dive into a massive and, frankly, freezing pain point. You've got a heater, you've been looking forward to a relaxing swim literally all week, but your toes hit the water and bam, it is ice cold. Instantly, you're dreading a massive repair bill, right? It's incredibly frustrating. But hey, before you panic call a technician, let's figure this out together. Welcome to this explainer on pool heater maintenance and troubleshooting. Today, we're totally demystifying the inner workings of both gas heaters and electric heat pumps. Our big goal here is to shift your setup from requiring expensive, reactive hospital visits to a routine of preventative, long-term health. And you know, this number right here brilliantly illustrates why we are doing this. 70%. That's right, up to 70% of those "my heater won't heat" service calls, they are actually just due to low water flow. That is something you can easily diagnose yourself, without paying a premium for a technician to literally just come to your house and clean out your filter. So here's our roadmap for today. Number 1, anatomy and maintenance. 2, the control loop. 3, the number 1 suspect, which is flow. And 4, following the power. Let's get right into it. Section 1, anatomy and maintenance, preventative care. To prevent long-term damage, we first have to realize that gas and electric heaters demand completely different care. I mean, gas heaters are essentially contained fires, right? So you're checking internal combustion elements like burner flames and clearing internal soot. Electric heat pumps, on the other hand, well, they're all about the exterior. They work by pulling heat from the ambient air, so making sure the outside coils and fans can breathe easily is absolutely crucial.
For heat pumps, maintenance is a pretty straightforward sequence. First things first, always shut off the power. Then use a standard garden hose to gently wash the outside coils. Now, never use a pressure washer here. You will absolutely bend the delicate aluminum fins and ruin the whole shebang. After that, just clear out the inside muck, wipe down the fan blades, and check them for any wobble. Wobbling usually indicates a dying bearing. Finally, give the wiring a quick visual check for any loose connections.
Now for gas heaters, it's all about cause and effect. You absolutely must clear the leaves and acorns from the heater floor so the airflow doesn't choke. If it chokes, it overheats and it can literally melt its own internal wires. You'll want to vacuum the copper fin tubes of the heat exchanger, check for internal leaks, and carefully inspect the burner flames. You want a crisp, strong blue color. If you see a lazy yellow or orange flame, well, you've got a serious, potentially dangerous exhaust issue on your hands. Moving on to Section 2, decoding the control loop.
Okay, so to understand how a heater actually decides to turn on, we need to look at the control loop. Think of this like a middle school science fair circuit with a battery, a switch, and a light bulb. The power must successfully pass through a sequential series of safety gates before it's allowed to light the main burner. If even one single gate detects an issue and remains open, the heater stays off to protect itself. It's a really smart system.
Now, the power running through this loop obviously has to come from somewhere. And it's fascinating, older systems use a standing pilot light generating just a tiny millivolt of power. That is less than 1 volt controlling a massive heater. Modern electronic units, though, use a transformer bringing in 24 volts. But regardless of the source, this is the exact electrical current we're going to be tracking as our prime suspect. And this builds our ultimate troubleshooting map. Here is the exact, unchangeable sequence of those safety gates. We have the pressure switch, the high limit switches, the thermostat, the thermal fuse, and finally, the gas valve. To troubleshoot a dead heater, we simply follow the power down this exact path to find exactly where the voltage stops. It's really like solving a puzzle. Which brings us to Section 3, diagnosing water flow issues. So the very first safety gate the power hits is the pressure switch. Because this checks for water flow, it accounts for the vast majority of our cold pool problems. When this switch fails to let power through, we have to pause and ask ourselves the golden troubleshooting question. Is the switch itself broken, or is it actually doing its job perfectly? See, a true switch fault means broken hardware, maybe corroded terminals or a bad internal diaphragm. But a water flow problem? That means your dirty pool filter, clogged skimmer, or maybe closed valves are restricting the water. In this case, the switch isn't broken at all. It is heroically keeping the heater off to save it from destroying itself from dry heat. That is exactly why you must always check your filter pressure gauge first before doing anything else. Let's head into Section 4, following the power and checking safety switches.
Okay, so let's say your filter is pristine and water is definitely flowing, but the heater is still dead. Now, it's time to become an electrical detective. Always remember this fundamental rule: the problem lies where the power dies. Using a standard multimeter, we just check for a voltage drop at each component down the line. If power goes into a switch but doesn't come out the other side, well, you've found your culprit.
The next gate is the high-limit switches. These are twin temperature sensors, usually set to 135 and 150 degrees. They're the ultimate failsafe designed to shut the heater down if the internal water gets dangerously hot. For instance, if your bypass valve breaks, the water trapped inside the heat exchanger can literally start boiling. These high limits will immediately trip to stop a total meltdown.
Moving down the line, we have the thermal fuse, sometimes called a fusible link. This is a vital heat sensor right near the gas valve, and it contains a small wax pellet. If an exhaust blockage causes flames to literally roll out the front of the heater, that wax melts and permanently breaks the circuit. It's essentially a suicide switch. Unlike other sensors, it can't be reset. It must be completely replaced, but honestly, more importantly, you have to clear that dangerous blockage before ever firing it up again.
Now, if all your safety circuits pass the power perfectly, but there is still no fire, you've reached the final gate, the gas valve itself. Your valve might be gunked up, mechanically stuck, or internally shorted out. It's getting the green light electronically for sure, but physically, it's failing to open the gas lines.
And this brings us to a really vital point. While basic maintenance, clearing out leaves and checking filter flow are fantastic money-saving DIY projects, you absolutely must exercise reasonable caution. Know your limits. Please prioritize your safety and know exactly when to call in a licensed professional for advanced electrical testing or gas line issues. It's just not worth the risk.
So, I'll leave you with this thought. Is your heater actually ready for the season, or is it silently trying to tell you something is wrong? Step outside today, check those filter baskets, clear the debris, and really listen to what your control loop is telling you. A few minutes of preventative care right now is the difference between an ice bath and a perfectly warm pool all season long. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy swimming!